Welcome to Veterans Views Podcast from the JED TV studios on the campus of Purdue Northwest in Hammond, Indiana. Now here are your hosts, Connie Karras and Steve Bramer.
We are coming to you live from WJOB JED TV in Hammond, Indiana. That is 104.7 FM, 12:30 a.m. on your radio dial, and you can follow and watch us live or recorded. And without further ado, I would like to welcome Lisa Wilkin. Welcome to the show, Lisa.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
And you've been a guest here previously in several occasions.
A wonderful show. Great to be a part of it.
Yes, we're so happy to have you. Thank you for coming from the Indianapolis area. Lisa is a passionate advocate and has been volunteering since being medically discharged from the United States Air Force in 1996. First working through Indiana Representative Steve Byer, she interviewed with Dakowitz on a report on the treatment of military sexual trauma survivors while on active duty. Lisa was called upon to testify before the House Veterans Affairs Committee, Subcommittee on Health, by Congresswoman Jackie Walorski to discuss the care for MST veterans at VA medical facilities. Lisa's military story and experiences with the Department of Veterans Affairs is featured in a book by 10 Hoosier women veterans entitled Finding the Words, Stories and Poems of Women Veterans. One piece of legislation in Indiana that Lisa has been credited with is creating the position of State Women Veteran Coordinator at the Indiana Department of Veteran Affairs. Lisa was the recipient in 2017 of a Torchbearer Award from the State of Indiana Women's Commission for being a trailblazer for women and Hoosier veterans. And Lisa has also been honored to be selected as chairperson of the committee planning Military Veterans Legislative Day 4 times in the 11-year history of the event. Lisa's story is being featured in the docuseries The Moral Pedestal, where her advocacy for other veterans and herself showcase her passion for helping others. In 2023, Lisa was honored as an inductee into the Indiana Military Veterans Hall of Fame and was highlighted in the Congressional Record in March of 2024 during Women's History Month. The Honorable Andre Carson of Indiana and the House of Representatives on Tuesday, March 26, 2024, recognized Lisa. And quoting the Honorable Representative Carson, Mr. Speaker, today I rise to honor a Hoosier whose service to country and community has endured for over 3 decades. Lisa Wilkin is a former airman and advocate who has dedicated her career to uplifting her fellow veterans. Lisa's service began in the United States Air Force and continues today through her work with veteran service organizations as a fierce advocate for veteran-friendly legislation at both the Indiana State House and the United States Congress. As an active member of multiple veteran organizations, Lisa has advocated for veterans at every stage. Far too often, the assistance veterans require post-service is simply not accessible or just non-existent. Lisa's experience in the Air Force enabled her to become an advocate for life-changing legislation at the Indiana State House, including securing tax exemptions for disabled veterans, veteran service officer accreditation, tuition coverage and free programs for dependents of disabled veterans, and the creation of the State Women Veteran Coordinator position at the Indiana Department of Veteran Affairs. Lisa has prioritized recognizing and serving overlooked constituencies in the military community, especially women veterans, and she has testified before Congress to raise awareness for the lack of funding for military sexual trauma veterans. In 2007, she was honored by the state of Indiana with the Torchbearer Award, and in 2023 was inducted into the Indiana Military Veterans Hall of Fame. Lisa Wilkin has established a legacy in the Indianapolis and surrounding communities that will be felt and deeply appreciated for future generations of service women and men. Even within the veteran community, women veterans tend to be overlooked and underrecognized, and this is why I am proud to honor the many Hoosier women veterans who selflessly serve our community. Beginning with its namesake, the Sheila Corcoran Hoosier Women Hero Award was created to highlight exemplary Hoosier women veterans whose service to their community and nation is unparalleled. I ask my colleagues to join me in recognizing Lisa Wilkin. I thank Lisa for her service and for her advocacy as she continues to be a voice of her peers, for her persistence, and for her commitment to the veteran community. Lisa, it's an honor. I know that was very long, and thank you, everyone. But
man, can you write an intro like that for me? Because that was awesome.
Well, luckily I didn't write that. I would. The way I put it is, I use my experience in the military and with the VA to help other veterans maneuver a difficult situation. And I have been saying for 25 years, I use my powers of PTSD for good and not evil. And that's why I help veterans.
I like my PTSD. Now I do. Now that I know how to
Now that you know how to deal with it, harness it, and that's what we need to get other veterans, the ability to be able to deal with PTS. It never goes away. You never get rid of it. It changes over your lifetime. You know, when I was first diagnosed with PTS, I was 26 years old. It's a long time ago. Yes. It changes. It changed when I became a wife. It changed when I became a mother. It changed when my kids were teenagers. And so it's a continuation of something that veterans always have to deal with.
Yeah.
Yes. And we have a very special caller, Lisa. We're going to take a caller right now. We have Lydia Ferranda Hall, the CEO and founder of Resolute Ready, the organization for which I am advocating. Lydia, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Lydia?
Hello, everyone, all the way from down under. How is everyone?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good evening,
morning.
actually. It's evening in Adelaide, tomorrow evening. So
yes, here it's almost midnight.
It is
almost midnight?
Yes.
Yeah, it's almost midnight, but I would just, the first thing I'd love to say is thank you, all of you, for your service, your sacrifices, for doing everything that you can and have done to really raise awareness on the impact of service trauma. And I must commend Connie on her amazing advocacy in this space, in this area. She is so loved and valued over here, like all of you. I think it's about, no matter where you are in this world, that we just connect and come together to support one another. So thank you so much, Connie, and thank you so much, Joe and Lisa, if you can hear me.
And Steve, our lovely co-host too. Yes, go ahead.
And Steve, yes, I. Thank you so much, Steve, and all of you for everything. But I just wanted to call in, first of all, just to acknowledge all the wonderful work that you're doing and continue to do. I love hearing your show, and also just to say that Resolute Ready International, One Stop, One Call, One Life, just to encourage that there is a directory there that service providers can submit their services that support our veterans and our first responders and their families. And I think if we can just come together and support one another and offer that vehicle or gateway of support and knowing where to get support. So, yeah, I'm really, really glad that I joined you this evening. I haven't interrupted your flow of discussion, Connie.
No, you actually have added to it. You have enriched it because you bring up a wonderful point. I am so grateful that you called. One ripple in the pond just ripples right across to the other side of the world, and we're all the same. And service trauma, you are reminding us how service trauma, intergenerational service trauma, Lydia. Trauma is trauma. We all need to come together. To find solutions and to help each other. It's imperative. All of us here play a role, and we all need to come together out of love and find solutions. And we can do that, and we're doing it today. And you're doing it over in Adelaide, but the issues in Adelaide, Australia, and worldwide, because this is a worldwide organization that you have founded, we're all the same. We all need help, connection, community, and we can all recover from our intergenerational service trauma. And we just have to be there for each other, no matter what the cause of the trauma. We have to be there for each other. So thank you for calling in, and thank you for all you do for saving lives.
Oh, no, thank you. It really resonated. I was listening to what you're saying, Connie, and it's pretty much that, your trauma doesn't define who you are.
Mm-hmm.
There is life post-trauma.
Yes.
Right? You've really always trying to, I love what you said earlier on the show, and in actual fact, you can always turn something that if you want to call it this, that's bad that's happened to you, and you can turn it into something good, right? And Resolute Ready International will always be part of your family as brothers and sisters in this space, coming together and supporting one another. And there is life post-trauma. Please, if you're listening, don't do life alone. You've got amazing organisations in the US. You've got the panel here full of expertise that can always lead you to further support. So please, if you're listening, you don't have to do life alone. There's always someone that you can reach out to.
Thank you so much, Lydia, for this call. This has made this show so much better, and thank you for all you're doing. And yes, we have a wonderful governmental, non-governmental, profit, non-for-profit organization network of veteran advocacy in this area. Always remember, 988. You can call or text 24/7 365. If you dial 988 or text 988 and then hit 1, that brings you to a peer-to-peer veteran support person. You can speak directly with a veteran. 988. It's a lifeline, the suicide prevention and mental health crisis hotline. Thank you, Lydia, and I hope you get some sleep over there. It's quite late.
Yeah, thanks, Lydia.
Thank you, Lydia. That's a wonderful call that we received. We really do have to come together, and it's a very important point to make. What happened to us when we suffered the service trauma, whatever the cause, doesn't make us bad people. We had we're having a normal reaction with post-traumatic stress to very traumatic situations, and we can recover with support, right?
Yes.
And the way you have been for decades, and so many of us, but the way you have been for decades, devoting your whole life, turning that horrid, searing service trauma into something that saves lives is so wonderful. And how are you doing it now?
Well, it changes. Like I said before, it's not easy. People say, oh, you talk about your trauma, it seems so easy. And I explain to them, oh, it's not easy. I prepare myself to be able to speak about that trauma. And what's really important is I choose when I speak about that trauma. It's not something that people come up and ask about, which is really respectful. But I choose when I speak. And I speak because if I hold that in, it's going to drive me crazy, and then I'll drive my family and friends crazy. So I know that getting that information out and having the ability to let myself be associated with that, because trauma is somewhat like cancer. That when people hear that you have experienced a trauma, and maybe you're having some struggles with that, it makes them a little reserved to want to be around you because of what you're experiencing. It's the same thing with cancer. It makes people uncomfortable. And so for a long time, I could not use the word rape. I would say assaulted. Sometimes I would say...
Why couldn't you say rape?
Well, sometimes I would say sexual assault, but I could not bring myself to use the word rape.
You couldn't. Oh, okay.
Because I did not want the ugliness that word conveys of the violent crime that it is. I didn't want to be associated with that because I know how uncomfortable it makes everybody feel. And I was that way for probably 10 years. And it took me... I went to a women veteran retreat at a convent, and the nuns helped me. It was the most peaceful sleep I've ever had in my life in Huntington, Indiana, and the convent is no longer there. But they taught me how to be able to forgive. And forgiveness is not about the other person. It's about yourself. And for military sexual trauma survivors, a lot of what forgiveness is about is really giving up the hope that the past can be anything different than what it is. And once you're able to accept that, then you can embrace how that trauma has changed your life. Because until you're able to do that, you're still fighting against that, I'm still that same person, nothing has changed for me. But for a lot of people, that trauma changes the trajectory of their life, which is what happened to me. You know, I'm a military rape survivor. And what I say to people that those 3 letters behind my name, MST, that is the DOD and the VA's way, and I sometimes say cowardly way, of categorizing us. Because MST encompasses a lot. It encompasses sexual harassment, it encompasses sexual assault, and it encompasses rape. Now, people say, wait a minute, sexual assault and rape. They're 2 different things under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Sexual assault is a sexual assault, but in order for it to be considered rape, there has to be some type of penetration. Now, the punishment for rape is different than sexual assault, and there is no statute of limitations anymore under the UCMJ for rape. And that's a huge step that was made in the last Defense Authorization Act. Not only did they take away the statute of limitations, they also made it so that the commanders no longer make the decision of who gets prosecuted. That's done by a military prosecutor on that base.
And when did that go into effect?
And that went into effect in 2022 in the National Defense Authorization Act. So they're working on putting that into place now.
So it's not completely...
I don't know if it's been rolled out through all of the services, but many of them have that completed now.
Yeah, I think they started it this year, didn't they?
Yes. And so what that does is it gives survivors the possibility of justice. Whether that justice is what you ultimately end up with, but the possibility of that justice gives that survivor the ability to peel a layer back. And that layer is that I don't matter, because you at least get the attempt of justice for what was done to you. And so there have been some huge steps forward for military sexual trauma really in the last 3 to 5 years. Also making it so that if you incapacitate an individual under the UCMJ, there is extra punishment for that. And so a lot of people don't realize that there are specific sections under the UCMJ that specifically deal with military sexual trauma and all of the underlying definitions. And one thing about military sexual trauma is it doesn't matter to us survivors that maybe you are a survivor of sexual harassment. Maybe another person is a survivor of they were forced to do something they didn't want to do to keep themselves out of having to be in trouble for something. That's still wrong. It's an abuse of power. You have rape survivors. We're all military sexual trauma veterans, and our traumas are different individually, but the responses that our bodies and our minds give are the same. And that's why a lot of times in the military, those survivor groups, they are paired with incest survivors. And a lot of people, they don't understand, well, why would you partner and put a group together with military rape survivors and incest survivors? Because when you're in the military and you are assaulted, whether you are sexually assaulted or you are raped or physically assaulted, you can't leave. If I worked at a bank and my coworker assaulted me, I could leave that bank and not work there anymore. When you're in the military, you don't have that option. So it equates to the same mentality as having a trusted family member who has abused you. And so a lot of the responses that military survivors and incest survivors have and struggle with are the same.
Oh my God. I never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
Think of it as
Neither have I.
You're isolated.
Yeah.
You're thousands or hundreds of miles
And you
away
can't
from
leave.
and
You're
you
right.
can't leave.
You get in trouble if you leave.
And you don't really know at that point who you can really trust.
Yeah.
And so the creation from the Dakowitz Committee of the sexual assault response teams, 20 years ago was a huge step when it deals with sexual assault and military sexual trauma in the military. Having those nurses in the emergency rooms, doctors, and advocates. When I went through this process, we didn't have that. And they would not allow civilian advocates on the base. That says a lot, that they wouldn't let the civilian advocates on the base. So I went through this 100% on my own. And that's why I advocate for others, because no one should go through that process alone. And I'm a unique veteran. I've also had experiences at the VA where I had an unnecessary surgery at a VA facility due to a nurse looking at the wrong lab results and verbally reporting that to my doctor. Now, when I asked the VA, what method are you going to put in your system so this can't happen to another veteran, they weren't going to make any changes. At that moment, every one of my PTSD symptoms that I had worked so hard to get under control came back, and they brought this friend called anger with them, because I was angry that here I've been harmed by the government, but they won't do anything about it. And my first thought was, what's happening to other veterans? And so I use those types of things as motivations. And that's what I want other veterans to learn how to do, is use your trauma and your struggles to motivate you. But one thing us veterans always do is we're really good at masking. We can put that mask on and make sure it's tight. And someone can say to you, "How are you doing, Lisa?" And I'll say, "Oh, I'm fine," but I'm not.
Yes.
But I'm not going to admit it, because that's what veterans do. We try to be strong. And so we need to get the message out to veterans. There's absolutely nothing weak about being able to admit that you're struggling with something and maybe you need some assistance. Because when we were in the military and we needed assistance with somebody, there was always a brother or a sister there to help. And we have to get to that. We have to also, as a veteran, when you ask someone, "How are you doing?" "Oh, I'm fine." "No, really, how are you doing?" Because a lot of times people have told people for so long, "I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine." They can't bring themselves to come out and say, "I'm not really fine." And so we have to continue to ask those questions.
Yes.
And for military sexual trauma, a lot of people equate this to a women's issue. It's not a women's issue. This is an American issue. We should all be worried about this. Our brothers and sisters who wear that uniform honorably, they don't want this happening to their brothers and sisters. And I said brothers. A lot of people don't realize that. 1 in 3 women in the military have experienced some type of sexual harassment, military sexual trauma. That number is 1 in 100 for men. But look at the number of men in the military compared to women in the military, and they tell even less than we do. And their suffering is even more because of the stigma.
The stigma of shame across the board.
And they don't tell, because if it's not dealt with when they tell, they've put a target on their back. And it's going to happen again because somebody got away with it before and they didn't believe them, so I can do it to this person and they're not going to believe them again. And so a lot of times people are told, don't tell. Keep it to yourself. And we have to get past that in the military. We have the tools within the UCMJ to handle this, to get those people out of our ranks so we don't have them continuing to prey. What used to happen years ago is they would just move that military member to a different base. So they just got to practice at one base.
Similar
and then go
to a pedophilic priest, correct?
Yes, and go to another base. And so luckily our DOD has stopped that. They're taking those things seriously.
Well, I like that they're actually working towards the current service members because, you know, it's when you are letting something happen, more of it's going to happen.
Oh, yes.
So when you have more of a punishment, more of a deterrence, now you're going to see the actual actions decrease as well.
Yes.
And, when you take the bias out of the chain of command, I mean, that was huge, you know? But, it's twofold. Like you said, the VA also has to work on their part as well for when these people get out,
And what you said about trauma is trauma, because my trauma is military sexual trauma. For a long time, I wouldn't talk about my trauma as a military trauma with a combat veteran, because their trauma is different than my trauma, and I don't ever want to try and equate my experience with their experience. But on the flip side, they don't want to relate their experience with my experience either. And so we're just the same. We just have different traumas, but we respond to them the same. And so we have to be able to talk about those traumas. A lot of times, some of our older veterans, especially our men, they don't want us talking about it. They want us to keep it to ourselves because they feel like we are talking bad about the military. Military did not rape me. United States Air Force did not rape me. An individual did that. What I struggle from...
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah,
really.
But what I struggle from is the result of what that individual did to me and the response of the military. And so that's why it's important to work on that response of the military so that you're not re-victimized. Because for up until probably 10 years ago, our DOD was re-victimizing survivors. And when you re-victimize someone, you pretty much pull the rug out from underneath them of them being able to truly get a handle on that trauma in the future. And so the reason that we work on these things, it's to help ourselves and to help others, but it's also what veterans do. We make it better for those that come behind us, just like those that came before us made it better for us. Our World War II generation marched on Washington to get us the benefits that we deserved. Our Korean War veterans, they were kind of forgotten about in Korea. We don't talk about, their combat and their experiences. And then look at Vietnam. We should still be ashamed of the way we treated them, and we should still be welcoming them home every time we see one. Our Iraq, our first Gulf War veterans, once the Iraq-Afghanistan war started, they kind of became invisible a little bit. And so that's why it's important for all of us to work together.
And speaking of the Vietnam veterans, did not the stand-downs, the military stand-downs, that began with them and blossomed into what it is today? And for those of you who do not know what a stand-down is, Lisa, do you want to talk about that briefly?
Yeah. What a stand-down is, it's geared towards our homeless veterans and veterans in need. It's basically an education services get together for homeless veterans and providers that service veterans. It's a great opportunity for veterans to get connected in their local community with veterans organizations, nonprofits, and with the VA to help them get into the programs that they need to better themselves, to help them get the veteran disability compensation that they are entitled to, and to help them be able to connect with other veterans who have similar situations, and for mentors so that they have someone that they can bounce ideas off of and be able to reach out to in a difficult time. And so stand-downs, they have them all over the state, and they're important in the local community, not just for veterans, but they're important for the community as well to know what the benefits and the services are that are available in their local communities.
That's very important. So it's not just active or even non-serving, retired, discharged veterans. It's the connected communities.
Yes, and it's not just the veteran. The veteran family. There are services available for veterans' families as well. And then one thing, when we talk about benefits and services, we're usually talking about benefits for honorably discharged veterans. Now, when we talk about military sexual trauma, there are still benefits and services available for other than honorable discharged veterans. And so don't think that because you have an other than honorable discharge that you can't get benefits or services for your MST.
Excellent information. Yeah.
If your other than honorable discharge was due to untreated MST, you can get that discharge upgraded. And so we have here in Indiana Legal Services that helps with those discharge upgrades. And a lot of people think, oh, just get them connected with the VA and they can get their benefits. When you get that benefit upgraded, you open the door for that veteran for all of the other benefits that they could be eligible for. Home loans, which they're not eligible for with an other than honorable discharge. So if there's any other than honorable discharge veterans out there and your discharge was due to military sexual trauma, any kind of trauma, untreated PTSD, reach out to Indiana Legal Services. They have a wonderful program to help you get that discharge upgraded.
Question. Does the MST need to have been, in order to receive benefits, documented while in the service or with a private medical practitioner?
Well, it's always easier when it's documented in the service, but the VA knows that we were told not to tell, right? And so there are a lot of people that didn't tell, or there are a lot of records that were destroyed. They were there, but they're not there anymore. You do not have to, it does not have to be documented in your military records. It's a little harder, but it can still be done with your stressor statement that explains the incident. You might not even remember the last names of the witnesses, but you remember their first name. All of that put into your stressor statement. The way the VA is supposed to work is they're supposed to give the benefit of the doubt to the veteran. And you can see that veteran was, or that military member was doing great performance reviews, and then all of a sudden they're drinking, their uniform's always a mess, they're not volunteering for anything, and the VA, they know how to look for those things. But what's really important for any veteran, go to an accredited veteran service officer to help you do your claim. Either your county veteran service officer, a veteran service officer with one of the congressionally chartered veterans organizations. Please don't try to do it yourself. Use someone that knows the VA system and how those claims need to be put together so that you don't have to jump through the hoops and enter into the circus of appeals with the VA. And we have some county VSOs around the state that really specialize in military sexual trauma. They will help that survivor write their stressor statement rather than saying, here are these forms, take them home and fill them out and bring them back in. Because if you do that to an MST veteran, you're probably not going to see them again. They're going to take those forms home and they're going to put them in a drawer because they can't do it by themselves. You have to help them write that stressor statement.
Yeah. All right. Very important. Thank you. Oh, gosh. So much to know. I learned so much I didn't even know most of what you said, even though I've read about it. So that just drives home how it's difficult to navigate things. Even if you Google something, it's so difficult to navigate through all that information you get. So I'm so glad that you're clarifying some things. We're going to keep an eye on this and keep reporting on it. And I'm learning so much. I'm so grateful that we have you on today. So now we have... Oh, thank you so much. I see that Lydia feels bad that she didn't get to say goodbye. I think there was some type of a technical glitch. And are you back, Lydia, with us? That's okay. We heard that we thought you just something happened. You're calling all the way from Australia.
No, I am here, but I've been listening to the show, Lisa. I just really my heart goes out to all those that have endured MST, and just know that this is a real issue worldwide, and we need to be able to talk about it, and we need to be open about it. And Lisa, just your suggestions of how to actually reach out for help, and I'd love to know more about it. Stand Up, is that the organisation that you mentioned earlier? That offers this support. So I just wanted to say that we stand beside you in this, and just so grateful that you're raising, because all PTSD is important and needs to be addressed. But the work that you're doing, Lisa, and I'm sure in the future I'll have an opportunity to talk to you further. But yes, just a quick note to say thank you for raising MST and the importance of it, and that you can't do life alone at all. And I just love the work that you're all doing. So thank you so much.
Well,
thank you, Lydia. Thank you for calling in and saying that. We really appreciate that tremendously. And thank you for all the life-saving work you're doing. And hope you get some sleep now. I know it's approaching 1 o'clock over in Adelaide, Australia.
No worries. Yeah. That's okay. Okay. Thank you. Love across the ocean to all of you. Bye-bye.
Much love to you. Thank you so much. All right. Do we have any callers? All right. 219
845
1100.
And I wanted to touch upon something when we were talking about when you were talking about, Lisa, how it's so it's difficult from one's vantage point to oftentimes appreciate the validity of someone else's suffering when the trauma has been caused by something entirely different. That's an important point. Lydia first called in here from Australia and said, we're all we all need to come together from the various communities, service-related traumas. And that's just not lip service. That I wanted to comment on something that I learned very recently. On April 4th, there was as many of you may recall, experiencing the show right now, and I know you know this, both of you know this, there was an in-person post-traumatic stress program presentation. In that presentation was what, for me, was a life-changing piece that was done 10 years ago on 60 Minutes. It's called The War Within by Scott Pelley. And what I learned from that piece is that what it's about is that 10 years ago, Little Rock, Arkansas Veterans Administration decided to use a treatment model that was originally designed for rape victims and physical assault victims with male combat veterans. What was found is that those models, it was two different types of therapies used for, again, rape victims and physical assault victims, was very effective. It had great outcomes for the combat veterans. That was life-changing for me. So, traditionally, I can't understand someone who has served as a medic, for instance, in Vietnam. I don't understand that horrid searing trauma. Likewise, someone may not understand the rape that I experienced in the Marine Corps. But we're all needing to come together and help each other. One is not above the other. One is not below the other. We are not untouchables, none of us. We are beloved, beautiful human beings who all need to come together and help each other with our service trauma. And we can do that. And the stigma of religion, the enculturation that we endure in our families with respect to certain cultural institutions, religion is a big one, putting shame on suicide, rape, so many human conditions causes us to shut down and not want to share. We need to get past that. We need to destigmatize. And we're doing it. So I just wanted to mention, let's just keep coming together.
We work on things at the Indiana State House, and sometimes they tell us no, or they don't hear our bills. We don't say, okay, and go away. We don't. We strap our boots on a little tighter, and we come back the next year with more information, and we continue to pound the pavement. Right. And it takes years to get these things done. And, I take a lot of grief being as passionate as I am about veterans issues. I deal with professional politicians. And so people say, oh, you're too pushy. You're too aggressive. I have to be pushy. I have to be aggressive. You know why? Because I don't donate. I don't endorse. All I have is my voice and my vote. And that's what I have to use. And that's where veterans have to get, is use your voice and your vote. And this is so important, especially in today's climate. Veterans, you need to be nonpartisan on veterans issues. You need to work with both parties on veterans issues. Mm-hmm. But you also have to be willing to give it to both parties on veterans issues. Yeah. When the party you identify with is doing something stupid, you got to call them out. When the party you identify is not doing something that they should be doing for veterans, you got to call them out. That doesn't make you a bad person. Mm-hmm. It makes you a veteran. And that's what we do. And so, the Indiana State House, we're going to see proposals for property taxes for disabled veterans. Right now we get a property tax benefit of $24,950 credit. And then if you're 100% disabled or become over the age of 62, you get an extra $14,000 deduction. It's a deduction. What they want to change that to is a credit. And so people, when they hear the numbers of changing it to a $500 credit, $24,000, $14,000, $500. Well, deductions or credits are different. So I did the math, and actually I didn't. I had my county auditor help me do it because I'm not that smart, of how much I'm actually saving in my veterans benefit. I live in Hamilton County. Pretty much have the highest taxes in all the state, I do believe, in Hamilton County, but that's okay. We have great roads, great parks, and great schools. That's why we chose to pay the higher taxes, because we wanted those amenities. My veterans property tax benefit saves me between $500 and $600 a year. That's a big benefit. Now, what they're looking to do is change that benefit from a benefit for disabled veterans to all veterans. That's huge.
That is huge.
It is huge. And so what the number that has been thrown around is $400, a $400 credit, which means my property taxes on my house are $1,400 a year. So I would pay $1,000, which is what I would pay. Okay. I would be losing a little bit, but me losing a little bit and adding in all of the rest of the veterans that don't have a disability rating is a huge increase of benefits for veterans in Indiana. And as a veteran, I'll take a little bit less for me if I can give that benefit to all other veterans in the state. Yeah. And so we're still in those talks and discussions. One of the things I've pointed out is our 100% service-connected disabled veterans, you have to give them a separate benefit above and beyond what you give to just veterans, because they have given the most. And so we're still working on that. I can't wait to see the legislation as it comes out of LSA, the different drafts of how it's going to be done. And there's going to be options for our legislators to choose from, different proposals, different ways to update that program, and so we should see a huge change, whether it's an increase in the deduction, changing it to a credit, and including all veterans. But we're going to see good things in the next, I would say, the next 4 sessions here in Indiana for veterans.
Oh, very encouraging.
Good.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes, that's wonderful news. Oh, my goodness. We're going to keep an eye on this. Please do keep calling in and letting us know what's happening. Will you? Thank you, Lisa Wilkin, for all of your tireless advocacy for us and for coming on the show all the way from the Indianapolis area. We really appreciate it. I think we have, Kemper, what do we have, a couple minutes left? Yes. Okay. So, just wanted to. We had put on the. You
better watch it, or we're just going to keep going.
Yeah. We had just put on the for those who can view the show. Just where to get help for MST. Now you can just go to the Vet Center, www.vetcenter.va.gov, and then you can navigate to MST help. But also, you can go to www.mentalhealth.va.gov and then /msthome.asp. There we go. Thank you. The links are down there. Again, www.mentalhealth.va.gov /msthome.asp. Thank you, Kemper, for putting that up there. Closing thoughts. We have just maybe a minute here. I would like to just say very, very briefly how much I appreciate everybody, what you're doing, whether you have worn the uniform, whether you've not, everybody doing what they can to be kind, uplift our veterans and general communities, and just doing the best that we can to make life better for everybody. I thank you. Steve and Lisa, closing thoughts?
Just want to let everybody know out there that there's help available for whatever it is that you're struggling with. There's no reason to be ashamed of those struggles. There are a lot of us that hold things in that we shouldn't, and there's somebody out there to help. Every VA facility has a military sexual trauma coordinator. They're mandated by Congress. Every VA regional office also has a military sexual trauma coordinator that can help those survivors file their VA claims. And just the last thing is we did have our Military Veterans Hall of Fame inductees have been announced. Just on a personal note, because I'm really excited of the fact that we have a woman being inducted into the Hall of Fame again
we only
this
have
year.
A few seconds to get that name
so,
out there.
Aletha Calloway, Indianapolis, Indiana, excited
Congratulations.
with all the hard work that she's done. So thank you so much.
Thank you for honoring her. We miss you, Joe Simonetto. We're keeping your seat saved. Everybody, to close, we appreciate you all. This is the most wonderful, magnificent United States of America. Let's come together and make it even more magnificent. I appreciate each and every one of you, and we'll see you next Friday. God bless.
You've been listening to Veterans Views podcast from the JED TV studios on the campus of Purdue Northwest in Hammond, Indiana. Thank you for listening.